cute, but it counts. It's gone better to Holloway, Harris, and Bill. So many ball-running threats in this task, Pat. Kureki round the back, Newsom at pace, cuts in field, gets to the outside.
So what we're looking at here is a set-piece play from round 2 of the 2022 Super Rugby between the Reds and the Waratahs. And so basically we've got the short line out here, so that goes in, comes in and goes to the Waratahs, so that ball comes down to the halfback, and then this is kind of the structure we've got here with these larger magnets representing the backs and then the smaller ones representing the forwards. So basically that ball comes down to the 9, gets fed out. We've got the 10 coming in here, which kind of didn't really make a lot of sense, but anyway, that's what they had. Comes in, gets distributed to that first pod, who was set up there pretty nicely. That player moves out of the way, so folds around the corner there. And what we can see here from the defensive point of view with the Reds is they've basically got that same kind of structure ready to defend against that first pod that's coming in there. So that's all pretty standard, kind of makes sense, but as we'll see pretty shortly, so what the Waratahs have done is set themselves up a structure to counter-attack back down the short side, and they've been pretty smart about that because in the first instance having that short line out means that these defensive players here for the Reds are out this side. Typically when you've got that shorter line out, you kind of get some quick ball and then let it go, but they've kind of done gone the other way. So take that ball into contact there, so then we suck up those defensive players there, so that's all good. So we've got our 9 that comes around, and then straight away we get these players here, so we get one folding around there. Then we get these players setting up here to go back down the short side, which is what ends up happening. So we've got our winger here and we've got our fullback coming through there. And so that actually works pretty well. So we get our 9 for the Reds that comes around this side, and he actually does a really good job in kind of identifying what's happening with this switch back to the short side. As this pod starts getting set up here, we're starting the Reds players set up to defend that, and they actually do a pretty good job of doing that, to be honest. So come down here, so we get our 9 for the Reds who's coming in. So that ball comes through here to that first person in the pod, and this is probably the real kind of key part of what the Waratahs were able to achieve with this, and probably the thing to kind of note is why it would and wouldn't have worked. Now, usually when you've got a backdoor ball, so if you get this player coming in here, that backdoor usually kind of comes out this way. So what it means is that ball can kind of get distributed quite quickly. But instead what the Waratahs did was, we've got this man on point here in that pod, and so when he got that, he actually turned it back this way, and what that did, and you can see with that video, is the Reds defensive players all squared up this way, because he turned it back that way, so they're trying to close in here and jam them in, which makes sense. So by this player here, this tip player, passing it back this way, we've squared up that defence and we've held them that way, but actually because we push straight back out here, we've now opened up that channel, and that's when we get that 15 running in here, which I think is where we get past this. I think that was the 10 there, so he goes straight through that hole. So effectively that was kind of the goal of their strike. Now the 9 comes in here, so he did actually a really good job, and then all we've got left is our winger on that side, and then this winger comes up here, and so this fullback does a great job of coming in here, drawing and passing. So the 10 of that strike was probably actually to score for this player to score, and then probably the thing that they could have done was, rather than him stepping back in, trying to go for that corner. But apart from that, it was a pretty perfectly executed set piece play, with, remember, that kind of key bit of play being this tip person here, rather than taking that ball and just playing it back out that side, because the D would have just slid with them, came up, pulls it up, turns it back inside to this person, they stay facing that way, and then that's when they were able to open up that overlap on the outside. As I'm pretty sure that goal was to score on the corner, which they didn't achieve, but a very well run set piece play nonetheless.